Oh, we're live, but hold on. I went live too early. Middlekauff! Hey! There is no O, John.
Was that kid? Did you see the kid that just committed to Oregon? He threw up an O on my timeline.
No. Who was it?
Probably someone sweet from Dan Lanning, just landing 5 stars, just doing an O.
I just saw a kid and Lincoln Riley doing but for the class of 2022, for next year's recruiting class.
This fall.
Yeah, he'll be a freshman in 23, so maybe it's the class of 23.
So he's a junior right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Portal Lincoln.
He's a junior in college or junior in
high school. He's coming into his senior year of high school, so he'll be in next year's class. But he's supposed to be good. Gotcha. What's up, everybody on YouTube? We salute you. It's good to see you. This is, the aftermath, really, depending on where you're coming from. You know, if you're a Chiefs fan, if you're a Niners fan, the aftermath. If you're a Rams fan, if you're a Bengals fan, it's just the beginning. If you're a Raider fan, it's just the beginning. If you're a Jags fan, there's probably like 3 on earth. God bless you.
Ogden's one. That sucks.
We know one of them. So, yeah, it's a good point. Man, so we did the podcast deep into the night on Sunday. This is not a podcast. This is YouTube only. We're going to fire through some topics, answer some questions, get into the comments. You know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's what's on the docket today, John.
Let's do it.
We got the stories. I know you're probably like this. I last night started scribbling, just like the topics for the next week are just coming out of my ears right now.
I'm glad you got them. I have not even thought about it.
I am just inspired. So, yeah, man, we're off and rolling. Let's see. Did we tweet this out?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Do you want to start rattling through some stuff and then we can answer some questions? Okay.
Let's do that.
Josh McDaniels just was introduced in a surprise appearance at the Raiders press conference for their general manager, John. Mark Davis goes, by the way, I'd like to introduce to you from John Carroll University, Josh McDaniel. And then Josh McDaniel just came out.
Josh
in the uniform.
He's put on a little LBs. You know, I remember Josh being the skinny guy. A little weird. I mean, we talked about it yesterday that they did it out of spite, announcing Ziegler before the games. I had tweeted that it was an FU to the Chiefs and the 49ers, and the more we had thought about it, we talked about it, it was an FU to Roger Goodell. And I think it stems back specifically. I don't think it happens if obviously they wouldn't be here if the John Gruden thing didn't happen, but clearly the Raiders think that they got fucked on the Gruden thing, right? Dan Snyder, everything was about Dan Snyder, and only John Gruden went down. It doesn't add up. And I understand where Mark's coming from. There's a part of me that appreciates the spite. But as you and I we didn't even realize, Josh, like, they're blowing an opportunity. You get lost these couple days right after the Super Bowl matchup is figured out and Tom Brady. You see Tom's talking to, what's his name, a little later tonight? Like, you're just going to get lost in
Jim
the show.
Gray?
Yeah, it's just
Kyle Shanahan?
Serious,
John Lynch? Adam Peters?
Hopefully. But his serious thing with Jim Gray. You could have had Wednesday or Thursday all to yourself. So, and Josh is a really, really famous, like, you see Brian Daboll. What would you say Brian Daboll relative to Josh McDaniels, just fame and name recognition with NFL fans is?
Yeah, I'd say close. Josh is Belichick's a 10, right?
Yeah.
So Josh, it's like on that scale, Josh is probably like a 6 and Daboll's a 2. Yeah. 1.5.
And you'd say with assistant coaches.
I mean, understanding that like there's like a bunch of people that are like -1s, right?
Yeah, if you just did the assistant coach fame ranking, Josh would be near the top of the list, right? He's probably the most famous assistant coach in the NFL. We could argue there are some former players, I'm sure, that might have some more name recognition just because they're playing days. But, you know, I thought they blew an opportunity to just announce. I mean, this is a pretty big deal for their franchise. But the other thing that's pretty clear is Josh has now more juice. Like Ziegler, like I got a text last night from Cy Williams, who's the UC Davis golf coach, diehard Raider fan. Like, I hope Ziegler picks some. What you mean? No, Josh is the boss. There's a hierarchy here, and the general manager answers to Josh. And you could argue from a coaching standpoint, it's one of the better jobs in the NFL. From the standpoint of he's going to pay you a lot of money, and two, he ain't going to give a shit what you do in terms of your scheme, who you draft, who you hire. How many guys in the NFL have truly more power in their building right as of the day than Josh McDaniels? Can't be that many. 5, 6?
Vic Tafer tweeted, we as we're recording this, they had just done their press conference. We didn't get to see it other than kind of the surprise entrance. Ziegler says he has final say on personnel moves.
Who?
Ziegler says he has final say on personnel moves.
Sure. I mean, you can tell me that all you want, and it could be in the contract. Ziegler ain't giving Josh.
Well, it can't be in the contract, right?
No, it could be in the contract.
Well, if it's in the contract, then he has it.
He's going to force players on Josh McDaniels?
Well, of course not. But I'm just saying, like, the contract is where it's the most, black and white.
I mean, to me, in a situation, it's important for coaches. But as a general manager, like, this guy has the job because Josh, they've been best friends since they played college football together, and they've known each other. There is no way. It's just the nature. Part of it as a GM, you don't force anything on your coach, right? I mean, you just give in. You hope he understands who the right players. But a big reason I think most general managers that have failed would say, this guy was fired up. I wanted this other guy, but what am I going to do? Give him a guy that he's going to hate? It's not going to work out. So the coach just naturally has a lot of juice. Josh, to me, is running the organization regardless. And I bet Mark wanted that way because he just saw it with Gruden. But, I mean, Ziegler got this job because of Josh McDaniels.
Right.
And part of it is, and I
wonder if that was part of what happened on Sunday, was you introduced Ziegler first to make it seem like he hired Josh. Like, are they going to try and really, push this idea that Josh McDaniels is not in charge? Is that why you hire the GM first? Is that why you bring the GM out? You have a press conference for him, and then you have Josh parachute in. Are they going to try and push this idea that they are different than they were before? I mean, I understand the motivation of it. And I think you're right. Like, practically speaking, Josh it may be partly like Josh isn't interested when they need a fifth receiver because somebody got hurt. Like, Ziegler's just going to handle that. But when it comes to the 5th overall pick, the 25th overall pick, or wherever they're picking.
They're not picking 25th.
No, I know. I didn't want to give them the 5th pick either. That at that point in time, like, Ziegler's not drafting somebody that Josh doesn't want. But it's interesting that they are. I mean, obviously he was asked about it. It's interesting that they want to hammer home that distinction.
I think a lot of it has to do with what they just experienced, right? Of John, because I think it's hard to know, like, how could Mayock really have been this terrible? Their first-round draft picks for 4 years it's an all-timer. I mean, one guy's going to prison. The other guy is completely out of the NFL in Arnett. Farrell's one of the worst top picks we've ever seen from just a ability standpoint, right? I mean, Leatherwood, within a couple weeks, they had to move him from tackle to guard, and he was terrible there too. So it's been if it wasn't for Josh Jacobs, it would have been one of the most awful 4-year runs in the history of the league.
Boom says maybe watch the interviews later. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe watch what interviews later?
The press conference.
Because we're saying that Ziegler has the.
I don't know. Don't get defensive. He just said maybe watch the interviews later, or he's saying maybe watch the interviews later.
I think that's the way he's saying it because they really want to believe that what he's saying, and I'm just saying that there's zero chance, absolutely zero chance. Like, Ziegler is not making the decision on Derek Carr.
Well, Ziegler's did not get hired first.
Well, yeah, he did technically, right?
No, but he did. But again, if we're going to go back to technicalities, but he didn't. Like, he's not. Josh isn't here because of Ziegler. Ziegler's in Vegas because of Josh McDaniels.
Now, to me, the whole key is this is just the reality, right, in the NFL.
See, look at Boom. He says, "Yes, no, I wasn't. Don't get offensive."
Okay, I'll give you.
We're all good.
Is that coaches do have all the juice, whether they have it in their contracts or not, because they have so much. This is not baseball or basketball. It's just going to come down to, and I saw Vegas reporter tweeted out his comments on Denver, like it was the best experience that ever happened to his life. If he truly has become a different person, he should benefit a lot, assuming this Ziegler guy's. Here's the other thing. No one has any fucking clue what Ziegler is talented or not. I've heard a couple things. I'm not going to try to piss people off and say what I've heard. But, we'll see. I have much more faith in Josh than the Ziegler character. But he has been in New England the last 3 years.
You're saying what are you saying? That he wouldn't be a GM if not for Josh McDaniels?
1,000%.
They went to college together.
Yes.
Which,
But Caserio went to college with him too.
Everyone went to John Carroll.
But wouldn't you say this about Caserio? And we'll see. He's got a long way to go in Houston too. Caserio was interviewing everywhere for years, right?
Yeah. I mean, Caserio was getting hired because of Nick Caserio. Just Nick Caserio.
Yeah.
And Josh could have done whatever. If Josh wanted Louis Riddick to be his GM, Louis Riddick would be his GM. If Josh wanted Adam Peters to be his GM, Adam Peters would be his GM.
And I'm not even anti-Josh because until he backed out, he was signed up to go work for a general manager that he was going to let pick, have a lot of influence. I would say Ballard's juice probably would have been a little different with Josh than it is with Frank. Because once Frank, Ballard was in full control by then. But when it was Josh, it felt like it was going to be a partnership with those two guys. Ballard was this up-and-coming GM, hiring Josh. Like, it was going to be a powerful little combo. So Josh was willing to not, run the organization. Now, maybe as time goes on, he admits specifically, I wasn't that comfortable with a guy I didn't know that well. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
In Ballard,
yeah.
He feels more comfortable in this. Because the one thing Breer and a bunch of guys that are like Currens, the New England crew, is like this. If he took the Browns job 2 years ago, Ziegler was going to be his guy. Like his personnel guy, which is smart, right? I mean, when Andy got hired in Kansas City, he hired John Dorsey, and now he has Veach. Like, I'm not anti-hiring who you are comfortable with.
These guys probably been plotting for multiple years. Not plotting, but they've had the idea together. They know how to work together. They've been working together.
But I think Ziegler's like, hey, man, you ready to take this job? I mean, I can't bill. It's just like, when are we taking this job, man?
I just need personnel. I need final say on player personnel. Just like, okay.
Just fucking get me out of here.
Mark Davis said, I want to trade Carr. David, I like Derek.
Oh, he's got jokes.
Mark's been listening to podcasts.
Well, David, I saw talked a little shit about the Raiders.
A lot going on there. You
Little
always
shit
got to
from
react
David.
to comments. What did David say?
Well, just like the organization needs to pick their shit up. Like Derek's
Not
just
wrong.
some. But I would say this year, for example, they were pretty well suited on offense with the personnel they had, right? Like Gruden had Ruggs, Waller, Renfro, Jacobs. Now, I don't know. Leatherwood might have been a whiff, but I'd argue he could have gone to other organizations. They've whiffed on players. It's not Kansas City misses on players. New England misses on players, right? There's no team that's like, well, you're just going to go to this perfect team. Guys get hurt. No one. The one thing I will defend them, I won't defend them on Damon Arnett, but I will. I'm not defending Henry Ruggs, but I'll defend the Raiders on that was something that, I don't put that on the Raiders. Do you?
No. He was not a guy with a history,
No. Damon Arnett
you put on them. Yeah. Remember when John Lynch, part of this is just who has final say on player personnel doesn't come into play if the two people involved can work well together and just keep working well together, right? John Lynch has said that he had final say on the 53 is, I think, what it came down to. John Lynch has say on the 53, which actually is kind of crazy. Shouldn't the coach have, I guess 53 is not game day, 46 now, but shouldn't the coach have the final say on that roster?
I mean, it's
right.
You could probably talk to 10 different people in 10 different organizations and you kind of get differing answers. Because I bet some people would be like, he doesn't care that much about the practice squad. He doesn't waste his time. And I bet other people would say, God, he's obsessed with these things. It kind of drives me nuts. It just, And maybe older coaches get less do you think Bruce Arians and Andy Reid, hey, coach, this guy got hurt. We just brought in this guy for practice squad. He's like, cool, right? See him at
and the bottom line is their work, it's going fine. So there's no reason why it can't go fine for Josh and Ziegs.
I think it really comes up is when you have a major whiff high, who fucking chose him? Who chose him? Right? Because that really
Josh is like,
Gruden and
my man Ziegler, final personnel.
Ziegs.
Ziegs is the man.
How many
That's your
times,
guy.
if you're talking, I get this all the time with my Raider people in my life, was it Gruden or was it Mayock? Was it Gruden or what? It was Gruden, right? It's like, well, it's just, I don't know. It feels like Mark Davis thought that Mayock might have had a little more juice than I think outside, because they fired him boom, he was gone.
Yeah. Which is fine. But I think part of that might be you start looking around, you realize kind of what Jags people realize, which is maybe people like Mike, maybe they don't, whatever. I don't know. I'm not saying they don't, but the people that you want to hire do not want to come work for Mike Mayock. And it's not because they have something against Mike Mayock necessarily, but they might have somebody they do want to work with, right?
You're saying coaches.
Yeah, and Mike, it's not like Mike has a big track record. Even if you think very highly of him, he does not have a track record very long as a general manager. So even if you're not a GM and a coach in Josh McDaniel's position where you have the sway to say, I'm bringing my guy, you still might go, nah, that's not the situation for me. What?
You don't think you could drop like, you see my mock draft in 12? You see that?
Yeah. Khalil Mack. Has everybody forgotten?
Yeah, 14 mock draft. You check out that map. You see my rankings. You see my rankings, NFL.com, 2010. Nailed those.
Yeah.
One thing, I'll give Mark Davis credit on this. They interviewed package deals, which is smart, because I think sometimes when you interview a GM that doesn't really have an idea who he's going to hire, does it feel like Poles and Uberflus were like, Poles like, I want to hire Uberflus. Or it's like, Ryan Poles, you want to get a GM job at 37? We're going to tell you who to hire. Or Bill Polian is. They interviewed Ed Dodds, Harbaugh. That was going to be a package. Spytek, Todd Bowles, and Ziegler and Josh. Which, to me, they wanted to get. It felt like they had cohesion when he was originally hired, but clearly, probably wasn't as seamless as we thought, and definitely was clear after a while when they were missing on picks in Gruden and Mayock. You just want people that are good and get along, right? Ideally.
Right. And that thing might have blown up anyway, right? Even if John hadn't been whatever he was.
Did he quit?
Some 49ers aftermath, John, as we sit on this Monday afternoon or evening, or morning, depending on what time zone you're in. By the way, Kenneth says Spytek is a fantastic GM name. God, you're so right. It really is. Speaking of good names, before we jump to the next.
You're right. That is.
Spytek's a great name. How about this for a nickname? Did you see this tweet yesterday? I saw it last night from Cooper Kupp. We're not here without Bobby Trees. Love you, brother. At Robert Woods.
What do you think Bobby Trees means?
Robert is Bob, and Trees is Woods. So Robert Woods' nickname is Bobby Trees.
That is a fantastic nickname.
It's better than Ron Mexico. How good of a nickname is that? I saw that last night, and I thought we got to talk about that on Monday.
That's probably the best nickname I've ever heard of, Bobby Trees.
Absolutely.
I bet they were pretty rattled when Bobby Trees went down.
Yeah, there was a photo going around of Cooper and Bobby Trees hugging yesterday, but
Bobby Trees was at the game?
Yeah, like in jeans, whatever.
Did you see the picture? Did you send it to me? Someone sent it to me of Burrow and Chase's dad smoking cigars.
No. Burrow, Joe Burrow, not Joe Burrow's dad. Burrow and Jamar Chase's dad.
They're two dads.
Oh.
Burrow's dad, Chase's dad, cigars, look like outside of Arrowhead. Chase's dad's wearing Chase's jersey. Burrow's dad might have just had on a jacket. I thought it was them. That's what I assumed. Kind of two older, chubbier, burlier guys. They look like mid, late 50s, smoking big cigars.
Yeah, that's them. Do you think one of them looks at the other one and says, we did it?
Well, these guys have had a pretty good run together, right? 2 of the last 3 years. I bet, these guys were having beers when they were beating Alabama. Like, God, this is about as good as it gets, right? Doesn't get much better than this. 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl.
Unbelievable.
And Burrow's dad was a coach, right? So coaches just have a natural way of around football people. I bet these guys are good buddies.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's pretty cool.
Does that look like they're at Arrowhead? Probably.
Yeah, not. They got to be. It's got to be post game. Why wouldn't they be there? Right. All right.
Dad having his hand there.
What does he have in his hand?
Look like a cocktail. Maybe cigar thing.
Yeah, it could be.
Hard to tell.
It's got like multiple. I don't know. What is that? Is it a flask? No.
You gotta stay warm.
Binoculars, maybe? He's all 22 always?
Not easy to get seats at the Chiefs.
No, it's true. Who did we see sitting in the upper deck? Like Jordan Love's girlfriend?
Upper deck. They were the final row. It was
right? That was Jordan Love's girlfriend?
And the mom. I think it was Love's like fiance and Jordan Love's mom. Literally the last possible seat.
Incredible.
His first career NFL start.
All right. Niners aftermath. What does that mean exactly? Jimmy Garoppolo's injury, a separate conversation, but the aftermath for the 49ers. I think that one thing that we probably didn't talk about as much as it's being talked about Monday is specifically the 49ers decision to punt on 4th and 2 from midfield with 10 minutes left and a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter. As we know, the Rams eventually tied the game and then took the lead and won the game. We talked a lot about the 2nd down and 1 play with Elijah Mitchell losing a yard. We talked a lot about the 3rd down and 2 play with Trent Williams going in motion and the ball getting handed off inside to Kyle Juszczyk, but we did not talk as much. And that moment, understandably, when you look at the still photo, John, of just 4th and 2.5, it's like a long 2, but they are on the Rams side of midfield. That's definitely going to stick as a big moment.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to, you brought this up last night, is to not have Deebo to get a touch there on one of those 2 plays, to me, stings. That one's hard to shake. But I say the 4th and 2. I watched Fred Warner's press conference last night. He was pretty shook. And I think part of it was they had been playing excellent defense, right? The second half of the Rams game and then the 2 playoff games. They had been a huge reason why. I mean, that game against the Packers was a historic defensive performance. Part of it was the weather, but they were fucking awesome. What was the 11-16 or 11-18? I mean, their 3rd down last night was a joke. But it wasn't even just the 3rd downs. They were giving up pretty consistently. It never felt the Rams, struggled to move the ball. And I do wonder, part of the analytics of when to go for it and not, I think the argument always is you have to take the game into account, right? If your defense is lights out in a 7-7 game, you can be more conservative. This is a game that, if you were watching the game, the score was 17-14, right, when he punts with 10 minutes left or whatever. It felt like, I would say, despite being up in the lead, they were a little bit on the ropes, the Niners. And it felt like Stafford was kind of moving the ball at will. And I just think if he could have that back, you got to go for it. You have too many good playmakers. Because part of the other thing is always well, go for it. Well, it's you're the Giants. Who's on your offense, right? Or you're a shitty team. Going forward on 4th and 1, it's why, I think you can argue you don't do it at your own 18, but in certain spots, you have Justin Herbert. I got no issue going for it. But there are certain times where it's I don't know if this is the best idea. I think looking back, he's kicking himself like that on just the setup of the play calls and then punting right there.
Again,
they had no timeouts.
Yeah. There were 10 minutes left, though, right? There were 10 minutes left. But I've thought about that sequence, the 2nd down, the 3rd down, more than I've honestly thought about the Tart interception. Although the Tart interception, I mean, all these plays are critical, but it's obvious when you watch why you can't say it's just one thing. Because you can always make that case for the one thing that didn't happen on the other side when Jalen Ramsey dropped the pick, right? But, I mean, when you have the ball, the decisions, to me, are things that you can really ruminate on, that you really ponder, because decisions are decisions. Decisions are not live ball mistake. Live ball mistakes is just game action, right? Live ball mistakes is all of us on our couch think it should have been so easy for Kwaski Tart to catch it. Right. And even he says I should have caught it, but he didn't, because it's not that easy. Those are live ball situations. Decisions, these are play calls, are decisions. Punting or going for it, these are decisions. So the 4th down numbers on the Niners decision, 4th and 2 at the Rams 45. The recommendation, the numbers say go for it. It has your win percentage if you successfully pick up the down is 73%, which is 6% better than if you punt. the
and
play.
I would imagine, Guy, I don't know if it factors in that they don't have any timeouts, so you can just run more clock. That's part of it too.
Yes, that does factor in. If you look right underneath the top of the chart where it says up 3, 4th and 2,
okay.
45 yards, 10:01 left, timeouts. Offense has 3, defense has none.
Oh, damn, this little model's factoring in a lot of variables.
Yeah, factors in a lot. So, now it's a 56% success rate. I think what really pains me when I see that is if you had said, I wonder, would Kyle have called it any differently the 2 plays that preceded it?
Yes.
If he knew he was going to go for it on 4th? Or does that not, were those 2 plays easily could have been plays he'd run anyway, right?
I think he had the mindset of just the totality of the last 2.5 games. His defense was lights out. And I think the scoreboard reflected something different than the actual field reflected. And maybe he's just in it. Like, I don't, part of it being the offensive coordinator. Now, he doesn't, remember how Andy, feels like he's doing it a little bit less, but like Mahomes' first couple years, like when the defense would be on the field, Andy just be over sitting with him. The game
Sean
would be
McVay
going.
did it too. Remember
a lot of guys did it, yeah. And maybe as your quarterback ages, like Andy doesn't waste much time over there with him anymore. I think he just kind of watches the flow of the game. Kyle doesn't, it feels like, do that. But it does. Like, he's looking at his sheet a lot. Like, he's got a lot going on for just, a quote-unquote CEO head coach. I do think that his defense was not playing as well as 14 points in the fourth quarter. If I just tell you that, you'd be like, that's a good defensive performance, right? But they were very, very leaky, right? And the players admitted as much. Fred was devastated. He thought they were terrible in terms of
the situational
defense.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Kupp's numbers on third down were outrageous. He was over 100 yards receiving on third down.
Did the Tart drop happen on the first play post punt?
The Tart drop happened. I'll tell you right now. While I'm looking that up, I'll update. Thank you, Ramon. 82% is the win percentage if they succeeded on the fourth down, not 73%. So if they succeeded, 82% would be the win percentage there. Now their win percentage was like 84% late in the third quarter. Okay, your question was the Tart drop.
It was. It was. Yeah. Because then
that was first and 10.
Because then the next play, the Odell Beckham play happens, and they get 50 yards in the blink of an eye, or 45 or whatever. And that was the moment they got it. I think we all agreed they're scoring points. Now, do they get a touchdown or do they get a field goal? But they were scoring points. So now you don't. I mean, I can't say Kyle's like, well, yeah, they're going to hit Odell down the left sideline, and Jimmy Ward's going to hit him in the helmet. They're going to get 45 yards. Like, you don't know that, but you do know. Again, if you were watching it, you and I were sitting next to each other. Ambry Thomas came a long way. I give him a lot of respect. Young player improved. Because why? Young players improve through what? Playing time. But I do think the Niners secondary strong. Their safeties played solid. Their corners were so shitty that just a random average play was like, Ambry, this dude can play. Yeah, relative to fucking Josh Norman, but he still is a major liability against Cooper Kupp or Odell Beckham. Like, he's not covering those guys at this point in time. Coming off also, the other thing with Ambry, he was coming off a deep knee bone bruise. So to think that he was 100%, I know he was better and able to play, unlike the previous week, but I don't think it's fair to think that a corner whose game, every corner beside like Richard Sherman, their games are predicated on speed and their legs, right? So he probably was compromised. They couldn't stay with anybody. I think looking back, that's just one that the situation of the game independently in a vacuum, not a crazy move. The score 17-14. Watching the game felt different than the score. Just the way that like the Rams at any moment could score a touchdown.
Yeah, you're saying that's an argument to go for it on fourth down. You're not going to stop them for 10 more minutes.
It's not going to stop them for 10 more minutes. And if you get it, you're already on their plus side. You do have one of the best running games in the league. Like, they don't have timeouts. Not that they would use them right there, but it's like you get a first down or two. Like, you could bleed 3-4 minutes off in the blink of an eye. And then it's just a math game. Even if your defense is a little leaky, like if you get up 6, they can't kick field goals. They have to score touchdowns, right? Just if they would have got a field goal in that situation to make it 20-14, a field goal doesn't do them as much good, and 2 field goals only ties the game instead of 2 field goals wins the game, right? So, like, they get in the position, maybe they get the ball back 6 minutes, down 6. They still might score a touchdown, but they have to score a touchdown to beat you. Because one thing the Niners had been, even in that game, is situationally they'd been okay. That's why the score. But there were just some leaky moments on basically every drive.
My biggest regret, if I were Kyle, on that sequence was that Deebo didn't touch the ball, and that was my first instinct last night, Sunday night. And now I'm going to say something that you could. This is, I think you could easily shoot this down, but I think we should talk about this part of it. Should they have thrown the ball on second down? Now, they had just had a big run from Elijah Mitchell. I suggested going quarterback sneak just to pick up the first down earlier. Not throw the ball 15 yards down the field, but receiver screen, the types of Deebo plays that have just guaranteed yards. And I think the answer to that, if you're going to punt, is no. But if you're going to go for it on fourth down, which, the math says you should, then why not throw it on second down? Now, the devil's advocate to that is you don't know what Jimmy's going to do once you give him the green light to throw. So why take a sack? Why put the ball in harm's way on second down and 1 in a running team? That's reasonable. But the situation of the game was they were not running the football and they were selling out to stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kittle. I think I saw a stat. Kittle didn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter either. And he was a guy that Eric Weddle. One thing you got to give Eric Weddle, who was literally like everyone watching this and us too, were sitting on his couch like 4 weeks ago. That guy's kind of born to play in the box and make some tackles, right? I mean, he was kind of flying around in the box and he could make tackles and be physical. You would go, well, if I get Deebo, Kittle, Ayuk, anyone matched Juwan Jennings on that player, it should be advantage us. But like you said, do you trust Jimmy in that spot? I think you hit the nail on the head. If they run a quarterback sneak on 2nd and 1, now that never happens.
Never happens.
What the likelihood that it works? Probably like 80%.
Well, I guarantee you the analytics say you just don't do it on 2nd and 1. But again, and I said it at the time you and I were watching the game, like I get not sneaking on 2nd and 1 if you're going to do something else there. If you're going to just turn and hand it off, well then just sneak it.
I would say you're right. The numbers would say do not do it just because you could get more yards.
It's just not value, right?
But there is value at that time with no timeouts of just every first down is worth what? 40, 80, 120 seconds. And 120 seconds in a game where there's not many points and the final score is 20-17. Fuck it, in the fourth quarter, they got no timeouts. Pretty valuable. I do wonder if one of the reasons Kyle didn't throw it was he's thinking, I run it, I pick up the first down. There's 10 minutes, right? I'll take another how much time off from the 45 to either the end zone or a field goal. Say that again.
Well, one of the reasons maybe he doesn't throw it on second down is he's thinking, I'm going to pick up this first down with a run. I'm going to run the ball. We're at the 45. So even if I have to settle for a field goal, I can take another couple of minutes off the clock here minimum, right? Now, I don't really want a field goal because then they can take the rest of the game to score a game-winning touchdown if I give it back to them with like 6 minutes. They can have a 6-minute drive. They'd already had 4. I think they had 5 drives and 9 plays or more and 4 of 10 plays or more. But if you could pick up that first down, score a touchdown, you can effectively make it a 2-score game. You've milked the clock. Maybe they get the ball back with 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, something like that. Definitely like 6.5.
Well, Guy, I mean, really, you're 2 first downs away from being able to get that bad boy down in the 4 range. And then the pressure that puts on your final drive, right, with no timeouts in Stafford, is just high. Drops, miscommunications. I mean, just one thing I was thinking about today, they clearly did an excellent job on Devontae. Again, the elements were in their favor. It's just harder to throw when it's -5 degrees, obviously.
I know. I heard somebody say that, like, why couldn't they do the same thing they did the week before against the Packers?
They did double team him a lot.
That's when I was driving home listening to the radio from your house, and it was like midnight East Coast. It was like 2 a.m. East Coast radio,
national radio. They did not double team ever Cooper Kupp. Like they just thought they could. Like we have evidence now, these Week 18 and now this playoff game, that their strategy with that player has to change. Because could you have gone into that game being like, listen, if Odell gets 9 for 113, we'll tip our hat. But we are not going to let this guy go for 11, 150, and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's like letting Curry get 40 on you. I can handle like 22. I could handle 7 catches for 100 and a touchdown. Because that was the difference in the first game, guy. He had a good game, but he didn't have multiple touchdowns.
Yeah, it's pitching to Bonds. You know,
I thought they gave him they not, I guess, treating him too cavalier, but they just kind of treated him like, just another wide receiver. He just kicked the shit out of you a couple weeks ago.
Well, John, he finished the regular season with 145 catches. Okay, in the postseason now, he's had 7 against. He had 5 against Arizona, 150, 9 against Tampa, 159, 11 against the Niners, 170. So Cooper Kupp this year has 170 catches, and let's see, how many touchdowns? 16 touchdowns in the regular season.
He had 2 yesterday, so that's 18.
1 the week before, 19. 1 the week before, 20. So Cooper Kupp has 170 catches and 20 touchdowns. You want to do the yards? Why not? 1,947 yards. I need a calculator on this one.
I'll add it up.
All right, 1,947. That's his regular season yardage.
1947.
Yep. He had 61 against the Cardinals.
Okay.
Mail it in. Didn't need him. He had 180 against the Bucks.
No big deal.
He had 142 against the 49ers.
2-3-3-0.
So that's, to recap, 170 catches, 20 touchdowns,
2,330 yards. Can you tweet that out?
Yes. Should I tweet the video out or just tweet out the numbers?
Just tweet out the number. That is just Cooper Kupp's 2021/22 season totals and counting. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, I know there's an extra game, but having watched him live that week 18, I went, I'm going to talk no shit or even try to push back on, like, he just benefits from the scheme, just everyone wants to like this guy because he's this white guy and he gives us all dreams. No, he's just a dominant player. He is elite. The one route he ran, I think, on Fred was kind of covering him, and he gave him a little whoop. Not that Fred should be able to cover him, but it was like, God, this guy's running routes like he's Jerry Rice. Catches everything. When he dropped that ball, it was like, that was a gift from the heavens. That guy,
unbelievable.
He's the last guy. If you went, who's the last guy you'd think to drop a ball? I'd say him or Devontae. Because like Keenan Allen this year battled, like, it was a story, couldn't catch Herbert's ball. And they're always like, is he throwing it too fast? It's probably a hard ball to catch. But this guy does not. If you told me over under 3.5 drops on the season from Cooper Kupp, I might take the under. Entire season. If you included practice, if you put it at like 7.5, I might call it like a push. I can't imagine if you went Sean, like, how many balls have hit the ground game and practice starting in OTAs with number 10?
Maybe he's never seen it.
Not many. Not many at all.
John, you're John. Jimmy Garoppolo needs hand surgery and is going to be 4 to 6 week recovery. Rap sheet says he's going to get that surgery as quickly as possible, and then and then obviously we'll see. Teams will want to see that he's healthy, that his hand's healthy. But as he said after the game, the truth can finally be told. It hurt a lot, and so surgery is what is next for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I saw him mention after the game that, it was pretty painful these last several weeks. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo is never going to play another game for the 49ers. I would say it wasn't necessarily in doubt, but it was like, what if he wins the Super Bowl? That was a crazy conversation that we had like early in the season, completely went away during the season, came back a little bit, and then the Tennessee game happened. We're like, we don't need to worry about it. And then it kind of came back in the playoffs. But it's over. Like, he'll never play another game for the 49ers. I think the number one defining characteristic with Jimmy Garoppolo when he's being discussed by other teams, and here's what good thing for the Niners, a ton of teams need quarterbacks. And unlike last year's draft, there aren't that many quarterbacks worthy of picks this year in the draft. And check out the free agents. When I see that, like, get ready, guys, Mitch Trubisky's going to have value. I went, okay. Jimmy Garoppolo's fucking that's a good thing for the 49ers. When I was like, don't be shocked when Mitch Trubisky gets some buzz on the open market. Well, that's shows you where we're at here. I do think the number one red flag on the guy, because every guy that hits free agency as a quarterback has red flags, right? Good Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Herbert, the good players, never in their entire life until like devastating neck injuries like Peyton Manning hit the open market. It does not happen. Brady literally had to have like a fight with Belichick, and it was like they had it out, and he's like, well, we'll just out of honoring you, we'll redo your contract, and you can become a free agent. But that was 20 years after 6 Super Bowls it got to that point. And he was 43 years old. I do think it's just going to be the injuries. Like if you and I, if I was Brandon Beane and Joe Shane, right, or whoever, a GM and assistant GM, and we're talking about it, and we need a quarterback. Kevin Colbert, you actually sent me that text like he's quitting. But he gets to run free agency in the draft. Like he's quitting after the draft. So he could pull the trigger on their next quarterback.
How hard would you root for a team that you drafted and signed and then was like, hands off, and then you just watch him? It's like it's fantasy.
Pretty cool. They're going to talk about him. The football team's going to talk about him. We know the teams they're going to talk about. I think the Giants are going to talk about him. It's just going to be simply, the Raiders, I would imagine him and Josh, they worked together for a long time. Josh was there. I'm not, just if anything were to ever happen with Derek, that his injuries, man. This guy's had an ACL, missed the season. Last year had major ankle injuries, forced him to play in, I think it was 10 games. Then this season had separate injuries that were pretty serious, right? Had a shoulder injury, cost him to miss a game. He, I think, also had an ankle injury earlier in the season. Remember, Trey Lance came in and then started the Arizona game. Then again, the thumb and the shoulder. Like, it's his injury list for a guy that's 30 years old and hasn't been like a full-time starter for a decade. Pretty fucking long, guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be malpractice not to factor that into your value if you're a team acquiring him. Malpractice. If you acquire Jimmy Garoppolo for, let's say you traded a third for him. Like, man, we can get him right. When he plays 12 games for you, that's on you. That's on you. When he plays 8 games or 13, that's on you, right? I don't see how that's not, even if he's 100. Like, this is where it's going to be like, this report's coming, right? Garoppolo 4 to 6, 4 weeks in, Jimmy's feeling great. 5 weeks in, here's a video of Jimmy throwing. Don Yee says he's fantastic. Niners start to shop him. Here comes the stories. Teams want to check him out. Teams are satisfied. Jimmy is 100% recovered. That's I'm here to tell you, irrelevant information. Irrelevant information.
That is, guy, a 1,000,000% lock coming. Lock, right? Coming that he's fully recovered, throwing shirt off maybe in a dome somewhere in like Chicago.
Ideally.
And I would say it felt like he was untradeable when the season was kind of getting weird. Definitely earned some trade value back. I would say best case scenario, 4th. If they were to get a 3rd, the Niners should be applauded. And I think whoever traded a 3rd would be kind of borderline nuts and / desperate, which we do know quarterback teams get desperate, right? Happens all the time.
Every year.
Dalton just signed for $10 million, and Glennon to sign for $20 million before. You see weird shit happen every
the Vikings, everybody, whether you have a quarterback or not, even when you have a quarterback, 90% of teams that have quarterbacks are desperate in some ways for those quarterbacks.
What would you say? And we got a long way to go on this, but Denver, I think it's, as of right now, I think most people are kind of assuming like 12 is going to be there, right? Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Denver Broncos. Like, do you feel that way? Because I do.
Yes, but to me, it is such a, like, if it's just like, and I could see it being this, right? Nathaniel Hackett going, fellas, 3 1s, whatever you guys need, just holler at me. I'll make sure General Patton sends it over, and you can go ahead and send Aaron this way. Seems kind of nuts, though, to me from the Packers standpoint.
I saw Rap Sheet tell McAfee maybe a week, the day after Aaron lost, that it's going to be more complicated than people think. Like, don't just think the Packers like, I'll take him. Good.
I don't see
LaFleur's been adamant, like, not only do we want him back, like we're not even thinking about it right now.
Why? Like, why would we? I can imagine like they have the conversation, then somebody in the room goes, "Just why are we doing this exactly? We have his rights. We're doing. He's going to win the MVP.
No, remember they redid it, or they came to like they came to a handshake deal. Yeah, we'll trade you if things don't go well. It's like, hey, we said we would, but let's let everything breathe. Okay, Denver to me would be in the mix. Pittsburgh clearly is going to want. Pittsburgh is not trying to lose.
No.
To me, Pittsburgh and Washington football team, Ron Rivera ain't trying to lose either. So I think both the football team and the Pittsburgh Steelers, think about their coaches, Tomlin, Rivera. I think they would value a lot of things that Jimmy has, like it's not fake, the teammates, the toughness, but they would also need to have a contingency plan because you just, like you said, could not just go, hey, we got Jimmy Garoppolo for a fourth, $20 million. Like, guys, he can go down fast.
With Patriots in play? They just drafted Mac Jones in the first round.
I don't think so.
The Dolphins, they'll have a new coach for Tua.
Well, Harbaugh,
Yeah, Harbaugh. I mean, it makes some sense.
Texans, Caserio, Flores, you never know. Feels like they like Davis.
Although Jimmy might resist reworking his contract if it means going to play in Houston.
Unless they say, hey, we'll give you a $65 million extension.
That's true. They might have to overpay for it. Yep.
The Giants.
Their owner just said we're all in on Daniel Jones. We're not giving up on him. The Eagles?
I think they'll explore everything. I think the Steelers and the football team feel like two teams to keep a close eye on.
The Saints.
See who their coach is. I mean, yeah, they need a quarterback. At the end, I mean, even James has torn ACL.
The Panthers. I know they picked up the option on Darnold, but
my guess would be they try to run it back one more year with that guy.
That's insane.
I know.
Jake on the stream says Mike McDaniel if he goes to the Dolphins. Something
does feel like the owner would just, he's only in his third year, just see what it looks like again with little Tua.
Yeah, but if you're Mike McDaniel, you're like, oh.
You bring him and just let him compete to see if he pushes him?
Yeah, I mean, are you going to trade a fourth-round pick for that? Maybe.
You would take a fourth-round pick for your backup quarterback, right?
Yeah.
If I told you right now Jimmy Garoppolo's traded, the 49ers take a fourth-round quarterback, and he's a good backup for the next 4 years for Trey Lance, you would do that in a heartbeat, right?
Oh, you're saying they get a fourth-round pick and they use it on a quarterback?
I'm just saying if any team takes a fourth-round quarterback and you feel very good about that guy being your number two and other teams in the league value him, one, he's a valuable asset, and two, you always need a backup quarterback.
Right.
Who's also cheap.
Yeah.
The Niners took a punter that struggles to kick it 40 yards right now in the fourth. I was thinking today, that punt, when he punted on 4th and 2,
yeah,
they were at the 45, right?
Bad punt.
It landed at the 16. The net math there, what are we doing?
You can tell when it hit his foot. Too high.
Guy, you're talking that's a 29-yard punt.
It's not good, John. It's not good. Regular Ryan says Jimmy to Tampa Bay. Bandits of the USFL. I'm here to finish what Steve Young couldn't.
Do we believe that the USFL is going to happen, or is it just one of those things that's kind of being bandied about on the internet?
Well, don't forget, I mean, last year there was there was one of them last year.
Spring League.
The Spring League, yeah. They were playing like double headers at Lucas Oil. You just flip on Fox on a Saturday. Like, what is going on?
The XFL was happening, and then Corona hit. Because remember, it was kind of cool. It was like not that cool, but I mean, some of the things going viral of like the mid-game interviews. Yeah. They were just doing kind of outside the box shit.
And they had no money. Wasn't that part of it? Or was that the AAF? Sorry, that was the AAF.
That was the AAF. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
We can imagine.
All right. Do you want to take a look at some comments here while we're hanging?
I like Hoop Outlet's last comment.
Brady to San Fran. LMAO. Just imagine, dude. Bill Simmons, I'm not going to say the godfather of wild sports conspiracy theories. Even he because our buddy Tony Henney, who listens and coaches football, sent me a DM. He's like, 53-minute mark, Simmons pod talking about Brady. So I listen, and Tom and Bill basically says, like, maybe he was waiting to see what would happen. But I think he's going to retire. But if he plays for another team, why not the Niners? And Cousin Sal was like, wait, did you tell me he's going to go from the division he's in now to that division? Why? And, I think the answer to why would be because it's the Niners.
I think fans talk more about divisions than people. Like, wait, you're going to go, why would Brian Kelly leave Notre Dame to go to LSU in the SEC West? Because he wants to compete for a national championship. Why would Aaron Rodgers leave the Packers and go to Denver? Because clearly he wants to live in Denver and play for this guy. I don't think he's like, what about Herbert and Brandon Staley? I got news for you. I don't think Rodgers really gives a fuck. Like, I think he knows they're good or whatever, but I don't think he's like, how Rodgers ain't losing sleep. Like, how am I going to beat Herbert Carr? Yeah, I'll beat him. I don't know. I'm better than them. Right?
No.
I think fans and I think us, we talk about it a lot because it is like, why would you? Like, Aaron, why would you leave the Packers and the shittiest division ever to go to the Denver Broncos? I just think he's like, well, have you fucking been to Denver? I want to go west. I like this guy. Pro bald guy.
All right, you pick a comment. Going to bring Edelman out of retirement. I picked that one.
I do think. I thought he looked pretty good midseason. I thought the last couple weeks, it might be all she wrote for him.
For Gronk, why not do like the Roger Clemens, where he plays like every fifth day, home games only?
Well, I got news for you, guy. If Brady does pull off my favorite story of all time and end up on the 49ers,
and it would be our favorite story of all time,
there would be no close second. Gronk wants to come, bring him. Joely, it's been real, son. What's his name? Charlie Warner. Thanks for your efforts.
Charlie Warner, yeah.
I did see that Gronk said that there ain't no playing without Tom. Like it's a partnership, and it's if Tom goes, I go.
And I told him I'm retired. Oh, sorry. We're hands off the wheel.
The Niners did have a lot of guys on one-year contracts.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a natural reaction. Like, who are they? In football, football is not basketball and not baseball. Most of your roster, what made the Niners, I'd say, roster pretty unique this year is a lot of carryover. That's pretty rare. Beside your top, probably 12, 15 guys, you're constantly rotating DBs, guards, a third linebacker, a backup tight end, running backs. I mean, there was a little this year, right? Some of Ebicams and the Willises just they didn't really feel like they were on the team. Elijah Mitchell was new. Juwan Jennings was, started playing. Ambry Thomas started playing. But, like, Tart's not going to be back. He's on a one-year contract. He'll be gone. DJ Jones, to me, obviously the Niners would take him back in a heartbeat, but he's kind of got a hider feel. But even better, like, teams are going to sign that guy, right?
Yeah.
He's just a good D tackle who can pass rush.
Especially if, part of this is like, does D'Amico end up somewhere? Does Mike McDaniel end up somewhere?
But remember, we kind of thought that with the Jets. We're like, oh, he's going to sign all the guys. And then he didn't.
That's true.
Really.
That's true. We thought Sherman was going to go there.
Because I would say the difference is, Kwesi or some of these guys, like, with young head coaches, the GM, like, they don't have to do that crap.
What do you mean?
Well, I just think, like, I bet Robert Saleh was like, we need juice. One, I don't even know if Juice would have been interested, but two is like, well, the Niners are offering him $25 million 5 years. And Joe Douglas was like, we're not paying him $25 million. We're not even good, right? So it's like maybe some of the guys they value, it just also depends on how much, who else is paying them. DJ Jones getting cash for sure.
Do you think Gronk will get his USAA membership? Weirdest commercial campaign of the year, as far as I'm concerned. I don't understand. USAA did a bunch of advertising. People apparently called. I don't even understand why they advertise. I don't get it. Like, you're only for the military. Why are you putting commercials on, like,
or their
Big noon kickoff.
or their descendants, like me and you.
That's right, or their descendants.
Because I'm a USAA insurance guy. You wrote me a USAA check. Like, I'm not in the military.
Yes, I did write you a USAA check.
Yeah, you did.
I have USAA. That's right.
Me too.
But again,
you bank with them?
I have. I've since my first bank account when I was like in high school. But I don't get it. People in the military know about USAA. I don't understand why Navy Federal Credit Union advertises. I don't get it. Doesn't everybody in the Navy know about Navy Federal Credit Union? But here's the problem with USAA. Their campaign was so successful that too many people called, apparently. And then they had to do a whole other campaign saying, stop calling. That's their campaign. Stop calling. That's what their campaign is.
What I think the move would have been, because clearly whoever's in charge of their marketing or the people that they did the deal with to like create the commercial was like, let's get someone really fucking famous that everyone loves. Gronk. If they would have had like a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger with Gronk, and Gronk like, oh, I appreciate everything you do. And he's like, well, something like that. But it throws you off. Because their latest commercial is clearly like, Gronk's not eligible, right? Part of it.
My issue is, exactly. My issue is everyone that's in knows. Now, Ryan says it's for recruiting purposes, guys. So I joined the military because of the bank account I get? Because of my insurance discount?
I would push back, and again, maybe I'm naive. I don't think it's recruiting purposes. But you're right. How it is weird. Maybe it is.
Blake says, Habe's volume super loud, or is it me? Is it Blake, or is it me? This particular program doesn't give me individual I can adjust it here, but it's hard to like see. I don't get to see levels for both of us on this little thing we're using here.
I'll be able to hear once this ad plays.
Oh, okay. Woo! Let it play. Don't skip it. Andre says it's Blake, but it could be, this is fine. This has happened before. Marty says you're fine.
You're louder than me.
I just turned myself down a little bit. So maybe turn yours up a little. Coca-Cola still advertises, Matt says, and I think his point is, and everyone knows who they are. That's true. Everyone can get them.
Everyone has access to them. That's the point.
But the point would be like, well, let's say there's however many people and their offspring are in the military. Let's say USA looks at the numbers and goes, for round purpose numbers, there's 100 people in the military and only 20 of them are using our bank. So let's get the other 80.
Still can't get over Cooper Kupp's stat line.
170 catches. What's the big deal? 20 touchdowns. Good in the playoffs. Here's a couple other comments. Andre, who would you rather have, Brady or Rodgers? I think you and I have both established we would take Brady for one more year. Or have you changed your mind on that? Would you rather have Brady or Rodgers?
Brady.
Sway says, would McDaniels rather have? Like, if you told me right now the Niners, put it this way, which story? I mean, they're both being crowded. I don't know if you could pick one to be better, because the Rodgers, you feel like, I'm maybe getting them for 2 more years. Brady would feel like a one and done.
I would say Rodgers would be the better 3 or 4 year story. Brady, just for the year, would be. I mean, I'm selfish. I'd rather go to a Tom Brady practice.
Well, so I would rather just watch Brady, and yeah, I'm with you. 1 year at a time, John. You can't plan 3 years from now. Would you rather? Would McDaniels rather have Jimmy for 25 or Carr for 40?
I just see no scenario where they pay Derek Carr $40 million.
But there's a gun to your head here. Damon Arnett. No.
I mean, I've seen Jimmy for 25. We just witnessed.
Right.
Derek for 40. Yannick. You just start taking about 3 or 4 guys off that squad. Right.
Right.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Andre said Kupp had 8 drops this year. That has to be faulty. Statistical. There's no way he had 8 drops this year.
He also had the game-winning catch against the Bucs. He had the game-winning catch against Tom Brady's team. That's pretty, an underrated little headline on his year.
Yeah,
resume.
Knocked him out. If McDaniel leaves, does Trey's development suffer? I don't know.
I thought McDaniel was more run.
Has he developed? Huh? John Beck? Oh, John Beck's on the Jet staff? Is that still a thing? Is John Beck not available to Trey Lance for the offseason?
Nope.
He's definitely on the staff. They just hired him to keep him away from Trey.
quarterback coach. But do you know that John Beck is not even available to Zach Wilson for the next 3 months?
Which is
according
kind
to
of
NFL rules.
Yeah, which is like you could put him off the staff so he can work with them.
That's what the players wanted. They don't want to be told what to do for the next 3 months. They want their vacation time.
Can Zach can't call up and be like,
I think he's allowed to reach out. You can't reach out to him. But it's like,
but he can't work with them. Can he?
He's friends with the guy. I don't know.
Can he pay him if he pays him out of pocket? Does that make it okay?
Do you think anyone worth their salt are following any of these rules in the NFL?
Well, but I mean, like, what if someone sees you have to work at a park with like, it's fenced off, so nobody tweets a photo?
I
of
think
you?
the thing is like you can't force guys to come in the facility, stuff like that.
Yeah, bring in JT O'Sullivan. Jerome says, or bring him in when you could just
watch YouTube.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. Well, it's a good hour. That's a solid hour. That's anything else you want to?
Pretty sure he's allowed to reach out to John Back.
Wait. Oh, just don't have him back next year. That's where it gets choppy. Yeah. What if Trey wants to work out with him? Does John Beck say no? Sorry, Trey.
Well, the part of it is like he lives in New York, right? If you're the quarterback coach, like you're doing Senior Bowl, you're going something like, hey guys, I'm not going to be here for the next week. I'm just going to train other NFL quarterbacks. Side gig, like media is like, I did like 3. I'm like Ken Rosenthal. I got 3 jobs. Like Robert Sala's like, no man, we're we work all the time. You chose this life. You wanted the security, cool. You didn't like those 1099s, but no free time.
Jelani says that's false. Jets fan here. John Beck is no longer on the staff.
He got fired?
Maybe he was just like a, summer job, winter job.
I thought they hired him to be the quarterback coach.
I did too, but is it possible he was just like summer job? Summer dreams. I'm on their coaching staff right now. I don't see him on their website.
There wasn't an announcement that he got fired. Because I write John Beck Jets fired.
Maybe, but maybe he was just like, hey, we're going to bring in John Beck for the rest of the season. John Beck's like, cool, I'll come work in the NFL, but I'm not moving my family, or I'm not leaving Southern California. I'm not leaving the QB collective. Why would I leave QB collective?
You're right. It could have just been a season deal. That's pretty. Yeah.
John is already working with Zach in Utah, says Jets fan Julani. Julani, Jets fan. DeAnthony says contracted for the 2021 season as an offensive assistant. Marty says subcontractor.
Which that happens when you see like some of these fired GMs, are working for teams.
Yeah, I just love the idea of a subcontractor.
Well, he's like, hey man,
Kenneth says they 1099'd him through the season.
They did.
Independent contractor.
Well, can you imagine like working coaches hours if you're John Beck? You're like, hey guys, I'm just 1099 guy. I'm headed home. It's 8:00. I'm not. I'll see you guys.
Well, you know what? Now that Matt just said, didn't he replace Greg Knapp? So maybe it was just, Greg Knapp tragically died. Maybe it was just, we got a QB. We need a QB coach. Will you just come fill that spot for the rest of the year?
Makes sense.
Okay.
I just assumed when they hired him that he was just going to be like, they were just trying to get in early just to kind of corner the market on that guy for their guy.
Yeah.
But John clearly wants to just like, no, man, Kyle's going to keep sending me dudes. What if Kyle's like, hey man, I'll give you fucking $500,000, fix this kid. I don't have time.
Right.
Right. Well,
here's the keys.
Well, if you were Kyle and you say, listen, John's asking for a little bit more money. We were paying him $50,000 a month. He wants $500,000. And you look at Jed and you go, I promise you this guy knows exactly what I want and he can do some development. Well, we don't have access to Trey for the next 4 months. Oh, Jed saying no. They're so invested in this guy being good. What is Trey Lance development worth to Jed York's pocketbook? Because if I told you for the next 6 months, Kyle is a guy to work with him, it will make him a borderline Pro Bowl next year. Jed York would cut him a $5 million check.
$5 million check. Yep.
Even hesitate.
10?
Trey's got a long way to go. I mean,
you could justify paying him 10.
This is going to be a big off season for the young fella.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he doesn't have to go the whole way next year. He's just got to be good enough that the rest of it.
I'm just saying, he has a long way to go to have them just like feeling good about just going back to the playoffs with his quarterback play for 17 weeks.
I agree, but I don't. I mean,
who's gonna be their backup quarterback?
I mean, Nate Sudfeld. I don't know. What does it matter if it comes to that person? Then it's a ball game.
I mean, he played 2 games. He got hurt in one.
That's true. I'm just trying to find one other comment here. Where did it go? I'm sorry, I threw it up earlier and now I can't find it. The question was, what's your show schedule moving forward? I mean, I think at this point, as we said, we're not no O word. We're not using the off season. I think we could kind of keep it rolling here, right? At least for we'll update you, but
I mean, there may be some days we go play golf or something like on Wednesday afternoon. It's not like we'll just see. I like the Monday show for sure. Obviously, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Yeah,
Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. You know, those are the podcast days, and some additional streams, maybe with some regularity. The Monday one feels good, and
Wednesday one's good.
Okay.
It's the internet.
Yeah, just stay locked. Keep it locked. But for the foreseeable future,
subscribe to the page.
Yeah, subscribe to the page. Hit that notification button. Like it. If you right now, all of you that are here, if you could hit that like button, we would really appreciate that. And we appreciate you very much and supporting and watching and jumping on and telling people. Like we have found, I think over the last few months that you hear a lot of that. Like, oh, my friend told me about you guys, and I found you somehow one way or the other. And
Warner has told a lot of people I know.
Fred Senior. Yeah, we really appreciate the support. So we don't know exactly there's not like a nailed down, here's the schedule, go to our Yelp page, but we're not treating this like the 49ers lost and now we stopped doing content. So it's not like that.
I mean, we've been doing a podcast for fucking 6 years.
Yeah. But this YouTube thing, we like. Okay, that was a good live show. This was YouTube only. What you saw today will not be a podcast, unless we decide to make it one, because it was pretty good, if we may say so ourselves. Tyreek.